Good morning. Welcome to Up to the Minute. It's a Monday, August the 25th. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we're live this Monday morning with your HCC news and information. Got a couple of special guests coming your way. But first, my co-host, Dr. Nicholas Cox with the History Department. Good to see you, Nick. Always good to have you on Mondays.
Thank you, Todd. I guess I should say welcome back. You were away last week. Do you want to share with the audience what you were up to, or is that you keeping that
Well,
close
it
to the
was no
vest?
big secret. Yeah, I was on a cruise, so it was very nice to be away. And the best part about being on that is you can be very selective on how your phone is used on a cruise. Most of the time I just couldn't get phone calls. Just was terrible. But either way, it's good to be back. I know when I left, we were getting a shot of cooler weather. I left on a Sunday. I thought, summer's finally over. We're getting a break from these 90 degrees. I go off for a week. What the heck has happened? We're back up to the 90s again. Today we're getting some rain, but it looks like this week we're going to be back in the 90s.
Yeah, I guess we call that the false fall, right? A little tease of the fall before it actually comes sometime in October.
Yeah, this is actually summer part two, I think is what they call it. But stay indoors and watch the show. And of course, we're live just about every morning at 10 a.m. when HCC is in session, Mondays through Fridays. And Nick, they can catch us in social media, replay of the show anytime, and on HCCTV.
Yeah, that's right, Todd. We're live on the Houston Community College District's Facebook page and on YouTube. We're also on LinkedIn and X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as HCC TV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, Nick, stick around because you're going to be interviewing this next guest, who is our Mental Health Monday guest. And she's our monthly guest from HCC Counseling, talking about a very important subject because September is known as Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. Morgan Tuck joins us. She's the HCC Northwest Counselor. Good to see you again this morning, Morgan.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We're going to be with you very shortly, so stick around. We want to talk to you in just a bit, probably about 10 minutes. All right, let's kick things off right now. It is also Music Monday. Very excited about this because, Nick, I don't know about you, but I grew up listening to Santana. I saw him in the Astrodome years ago. Certainly a big fan all throughout the years of his career. Was there also music you listened to as well?
When I was younger, particularly in junior high and high school, I used to play the Woodstock soundtrack often, and I think that was the primary way in which Santana entered my music diet. And then he had a big hit recently, I guess, in the early 2000s with a pop vocalist that kind of another round for his career.
That album, he reinvents himself. Well, we've got an artist join us. Mark Towns is the band leader and guitarist for SANTANABRAXAS and the performer at the Willow Waterhole Music Festival. That's going to be coming up soon. Welcome, Mark. Good to have you with us on the show. Thanks for being here. Let's see if we can get you to unmute your mic. Your mic is still muted right now. There we go.
How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you. Good to see you with us. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get to your career and what exactly you do, tell us a little bit, because I know we've been a big supporter of the Willow Waterhole Festival, but tell us a bit about it and what it's about.
I think Al Campbell is the producer of that event. Al's a Houston area bass player, moved here from Memphis back, I think in the late 90s. He moved here actually with saxophonist Kirk Whalum. They were roommates, really good friends. And Al is one of the music teachers at Westbury High School, which is right next to the Willow Waterhole Park area. And Al is the one behind the whole festival, and he's been doing it for about 4 or 5 years. And he brings great local talent as well as features some of the local student bands.
Well, I know we have a flyer from that as well, and I believe it happens October 28th. So people can check it out. We'll have a link in our post about that. But I want to talk to you about your band, SANTANABRAXAS. tell us a bit about your start in music and really what led you to form this band as you know, a tribute to Carlos Santana.
Well, I've been playing the music of Santana, along with everything else I do back since his first album. I mean, I actually went to Westbury High School, and I remember playing some Santana songs there at Westbury with a rock band I had at the time called Cinnamon Cloud. And over the years, I've been involved in various Latin jazz and Latin rock projects as a guitarist and band leader, musical director, including for my ex-wife who passed away, Norma Zentino. I was her guitarist and band leader, and we did a lot of Latin rock, and there were always comparisons to what we did to Santana. And so fast forward to today, there's just a lot of demand for tribute bands, and I thought, hey, I already know all this Santana music, so why not put it out there and expand the audience for it?
I'm sorry to hear of your wife's passing. I remember her very well, and I think I've seen you guys a couple of times back in the day. When I talk back in the day of the 80s, and it looks like we may have run in some of the same circles. I worked in the music industry in most of the 80s. Cody's, Rockefellers, and I don't think if I saw you guys at Fitzgerald's, but I know.
Oh yeah, we played Fitzgerald's.
Okay, then maybe it was Fitzgerald's too. Those days begin to be somewhat of a blur at times, as you can understand. But I looked on your website, and it looks like you've hung with a lot of the heavy hitters: Billy Gibbons, Stevie Ray Vaughan's band Double Trouble, Herbie Hancock, George Benson, and we've got a few of those pictures from your website. Obviously, was this in your career with Norma Zentena?
Some of those were, some of them were people that I just met and hung out with, and some were musical collaborations, but like you said, it kind of becomes a blur after so many years. But
yeah, we made it through though, didn't we? One thing about Santana that always has attracted me to his music, when I was a young teen, one of the Texas jams he played, and I had a chance to see him play live in the Astrodome at a concert that I was at when I told my parents I was going to Astro World. What I did is I went to the Astrodome. That's a whole different other story. But I remember him playing there, and that really attracted me to him, seeing him live for that first time, and then going back and getting the albums. He seemed to, over his career, reinvent himself several times, stay relevant when other artists are waning. He's being creative. Is that something that you've seen with him all throughout his career?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've seen him in concert multiple times, and one thing about him is his band members, his supporting band members, have always kind of rotated and changed over the years, but he's always, he's known for using just top quality guys. I mean, the best. And actually with SANTANABRAXAS, pretty much doing the same thing. I mean, my band members are all like world class. I mean, their other gigs are with people like Stevie Wonder, Shaka Khan, just a lot of the biggest names. They're when they're not playing with me, they're out on tour or recording with other major artists. So I've got world-class band members with this tribute band, so it's almost like you could take my guys that are in SANTANABRAXAS and put them behind Carlos Santana, and you wouldn't notice anything. I mean, it'd be pretty much the same.
Well, you mentioned about the people Santana played with, discovered. I mean, there would be no Journey if there wasn't a Santana. There may have been incarnations of it, but there wouldn't have been a Journey if and I'm talking about the band Journey
Sure.
if there hadn't been Santana. And then even most relevant days with him working with the guy from Matchbox 20, scoring a hit with Rob Thomas. He always seems to bring in that talent.
Yeah, with that album Supernatural, and back in 2000, that was a huge hit, probably his biggest hit. I mean, that was like a collaboration he did with Clive Davis, the record mogul.
Yeah.
And he paired him up with those guys, and it turned out to be a really smart move. I don't think, some of his fans of his early music, which I am, like his first 3 albums to me are his best. And
right.
Actually, that's the kind of music we try to focus on more. The early, more jazzy and Latin rock stuff, more than the pop stuff he did later on. But of course, like he does, you have to play the hits. So we have to play the hits too. So we do Smooth and the biggest hits because people want to hear those.
You ever play anything off Caravan?
Caravanserai?
Yeah.
That's on the to-do list. That's some of his most difficult material. So actually at Willow Waterhole, we're doing mostly stuff from the first 3 albums, plus some, other big hits like Europa. Everybody loves that.
Oh yeah, that's a big one as well. SANTANABRAXAS is the name of the band. They're playing at the Willow Waterhole Music Festival, and we're one of the supporters of that. HCC is. Mark Towns, we appreciate you being here. It's great speaking with you, and we wish you continued success.
Thank you so much. You can check out marktowns.com/SANTANABRAXAS. That's Santana and then Abraxas, which is the name of his second album, the one with Oye Como Va, Black Magic Woman on it.
Right.
Just combine Santana and then Braxas. You use the same A for both words.
Well, we're going to have all of your social media website information in our social media post after the show, so people can find it.
Well, thank you. Hope to see you at the festival.
I'll be there. Thanks, Mark. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to turn things over to you, Nick, and you've got a very special guest as well.
That's right, Todd. Thank you. Good morning again to Morgan Tuck. She is a counselor here at HCC. She works at the HCC Northwest College, and she's our Mental Health Monday guest. Welcome back to the show, Morgan.
Good morning.
So September is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. Can you tell our viewers what is the other side of suicide?
Absolutely. So typically, suicide awareness is for the actual person that is having the ideations, but oftentimes we forget about the other side of it, which really their family, their friends, or even how to offer support. So I wanted to take today to just sort of highlight those. Helping a suicidal loved one, it isn't easy. It's very difficult to talk about, especially when it's somebody that you truly love and care about. But it's really, really important that we do have these discussions and we let our loved ones know that there is help and there are resources available.
All right. So
there are a couple of points.
Oh, I was going to ask you, how do you suggest people provide support? What are things that people can do when their loved ones are expressing suicidal feelings or ideation?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of points that I wanted to highlight. The first one is to offer steadfast support. If your friend or your loved one is experiencing a suicidal ideation, that means that they're hurting and they probably really need to have a discussion. So you can show them support by listening and giving them your empathy and your compassion. A couple of questions that you could possibly ask them would be, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Can you tell me more about it? You mean a lot to me and I can't imagine my life without you. Or even, something as offering to help them, like, can I bring you dinner? Would you like for me to come over? So really being able to offer that client support. Also asking the right questions. Again, we try to shy away from questions when it kind of comes to this topic, but you really do have to be direct with them, because sometimes it's not obvious, and everybody shows different signs. And so if you are unsure, the best thing to do is just ask. You do want to make sure that you ask in a very direct manner. So you can say things like, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Do you think about dying? Do you think that your family or your friends may be better off without you? So those are just a couple of examples, just give you a better gauge to see where they are and then how much intervention they may need. And then my third point with that would be just to know when to act. So if you are having a conversation with them and you ask those questions and you're getting answers and it's yes and it's very evident, it's important to know when to intervene. So do you need to call authorities to maybe get them some sort of crisis intervention? Is counseling the route to go? So just really making sure that you know when to act and not to delay in order to make sure that your loved one gets the support that they need.
No, that's great advice. Especially on the asking questions part, to phrase things as directly and honestly and maybe even clinically as you can, so that the person who's in need of help can have an opportunity to talk about it, but also be very clear and specific about what's happening inside with them as well. So tell me about something I have not heard about. What is 988?
So 988 is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. It used to be 1-800-273-TALK. And I believe last summer they converted it to the 3-digit number. Both numbers still work. It'll direct you to the same place. But we did a lot of advocating as mental health professionals, and finally was able to get the government to make that national hotline. So instead of that long 10-digit number, now you can just dial 988, and that's nationwide, and it'll route you to your local.
Well, that's incredibly helpful. I've seen the 1-800 number flyers and brochures and stickers all, since I was a child, but like 911, 988 is much easier to remember, much easier to dial, and it just gets people right to where they need. Okay, wonderful. So in addition to the other side of suicide, including what to do when someone is in distress, can you talk a little bit about people who are left behind after a suicide? How can we help people cope with the loss of a loved one?
Absolutely. And so, on average, there's over 45,000 people in the United States who take their own lives every year. And so when you think about how many people are left behind, it is phenomenal. So we really wanted to make sure that those people are able to get support as well. So a couple of things, if you do know someone who has lost a person to suicide, number one, staying close to them. So a lot of times families feel stigmatized when the cause of death is suicide, right? A lot of times it's hush hush and they don't want to talk about it. It can be embarrassing. So they may avoid reaching out for help. So if you know that that's a situation, just make your presence known, and just make yourself available to them. But when in doubt, just make contact, because they may not be able to reach out, but you can reach out to them. My next point would be to avoid what I call hollow reassurance. And so it's one thing, to just say, cookie cutter things, but in this particular case, you really want to try to be genuine. It's not that comforting to hear, well, things will get better, or, at least they're not suffering anymore. Those things typically don't go as well in these sort of situations. And so the bereaved may feel that you don't want to acknowledge or hear them express their pain or grief, and that would just be contrary to what you're actually trying to do. Another point is to don't necessarily ask for any details or for an explanation, because that can also be very triggering for the loved one. And so, it may be that you're thinking like, well, did they leave a note, or how did it happen? Did you notice any signs? But when somebody is right in the thick of grief, that can be very overwhelming for them and not necessarily come off as support. Okay.
Right.
Another thing would be to remember their life. Suicide isn't the most important thing about the person who died, right? That's not how we want to remember them. And so it's very helpful to share memories and to share stories and say their name. So include them. You really want to be able to celebrate them in a lot of ways and not just necessarily think of them as that person that has committed suicide.
These are really helpful suggestions for people that are left in the wake of a suicide. I'll add here for a moment a little personal information, I guess, maybe. Before I was born, my father's mother committed suicide. And so I never knew her. But since that event or experience, I think it had an enormous impact on my father and his siblings. And, we talk a lot, or we hear a lot about contexts like family history or genetics or generational trauma, where an individual may not necessarily be in control of the factors that lead to suicidal thoughts or depression. And so my father, my brother, my sons were just much more open about talking about these things than I think previous generations might have been, whether it's your how you're feeling or how you think about things or episodes, that sort of stuff. But Morgan, we are out of time, and this has been a great discussion. And I hope throughout the month, perhaps there are other things related to suicide prevention that our show can cover. But thank you again. This is Morgan Tuck, HCC Northwest Counselor, and our Mental Health Monday guest. We'll have your info in the post after the show.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Morgan. Always good to have you on the show. Okay, we got a few announcements to make before we wrap up the show. In a similar capacity, counseling is having an open house on the Central Campus. Central Counseling and Ability Services welcomes students, faculty, and staff for free counseling, depression, anxiety, and substance use screening to speak with a licensed mental health counselor about the result and to drop by the complimentary popcorn bar. That's right. That sounds pretty good. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's tomorrow, Tuesday, September 26th at the Central Campus at the Harmon Building. Check our post after the show with more information. And here's another thing that's very popular amongst the staff at HCC.
That's right.
Free
Save
haircut.
a little bit of money. We've got free haircuts. Free haircuts are back at Central. HCC is offering free haircuts on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Tuesday, 9:30 to 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday. And that's at the J.B. Whitley building on the Central Campus. Todd, I used to teach at the Spring Branch campus, and there is a Paul Mitchell salon right next door. And the students over there used to solicit us all the time if we wanted to come over and get a free haircut. And I kind of miss that. It was a good deal.
I know. It's a great deal. So make sure you get there early. It does. They do get pretty filled there. Let's see. Career Services Workshops. They're hosted by Student Life. Mark your calendar for some workshops in the HCC Southeast Student Life Center. Wednesday, September 27th. Our post will have some information about it where you can check that out. Mastering Your Budget. Okay. That's an SGA workshop that's coming up.
That's right. If you ever seem like your money isn't enough, or if overdraft fees are killing you, then this is the presentation for you. You can join the Coleman College financial coach, Daniel Scholl, as he talks about how to create a budget and stick to it. This SGA Financial Literacy Series, Mastering Your Budget, is it's Thursday, 2 p.m., September 28th, and it's virtual. You're going to need to use that HCC email address to register. So check our post after the show for more information.
And there's faculty exhibitions happening across the district. One of them happened at HCC's Stafford Fine Arts Gallery. We'll be hosting the artworks of faculty member Amy Beth Wright. This is one of several exhibitions taking place across the district, but this one's running through November the 3rd. Check our post after the show. Of course, it's free, and you can just stop by and check it out. So let's see where we are in the semester. We're second starts already underway. We're already well into the fall semester, but Nick, I would imagine students can still sign up to complete some hours before the semester ends.
That's right. Students should definitely check the registration platform to see what classes and sessions are available. I know on my side of the house over in the academics that the 8-week session starts October 16th, and there are vacant seats, so students can still sign up for fall classes running in the last 8 weeks of the semester. But regular term and second start have already begun, so these 8 weeks are about all that's left. Some other programs, particularly over in workforce, perhaps might have 4 or 5 week sessions later in the term as well.
Let's see. hccs.edu/apply. That's still the website we're using, but you got to check it out. Log in today and get registered. So tomorrow on the show, you've heard of Chef Hugo Ortega, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we've got his brother on the show. They work together. Ruben Ortega, also an HCC alum. Ruben is with, same as his brother, H-Town Restaurants. He'll be here to talk about the celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. Later this week, we'll feature an award-winning facialist from the cosmetology department. So busy week coming up. Stick around with us. Nick, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.
Next time.
All right. Thanks, folks. We'll see you tomorrow morning live, 10 a.m. for Up to the Minute.